Welcome back, Tuesday Night Cigar Club, Cats Fest 4 in San Antonio, Texas. We are sitting now with Mr. Robert Caldwell, Caldwell Cigars. First Cats Fest?
Yes.
What do you think?
It's very interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah, multi-vendor events are always fun. So you hit a lull right about now, where you get the last few stragglers, and it's torture.
Yeah.
You got like 18 cigars left to give out, and they're coming one at a time. But it's a good turnout, a good event. I wanted to come last year, but we were on such bad back order that it was impossible to give anything away because we would have just gotten killed by retailers.
Yeah.
So, and then this year my schedule was so screwed up that I couldn't come for the whole time. So I'm here today for like 6 hours.
Okay. Well, that's
you were saying earlier that you were flying around quite a bit.
I got over 100 flights already this year.
Yeah.
So, stupid.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, the availability and the short supply thing. That's one of the things that's kind of synonymous with Caldwell, especially the Lost and Found line, which I find really interesting. Is I don't know if there's anyone else really out in the industry doing a business model like Lost and Found, where finding rare stock inventory of cigars from other manufacturers that you fall in love with, that you really like the blends, and just getting them out there. I love the packaging. I love the innovation. I think it's just a shot in the arm of creativity. I think it kind of to guys like us, we come from a film background, so that artistic side brought into everything y'all do, I would really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I kind of like to see just what all those projects. And I know that's completely separate from your Caldwell line. What do you got coming out? Is this like a lot of guys? I guess this is doing a big push this year.
So we obviously have FDA coming very shortly. So Lost and Found is going to do some releases that are going to be very small that will actually really push next year. So we're going to come in and just do a little bit of that in the next couple months, just very small retailer exposure. And then Caldwell, we actually have been kind of preparing for this for a long time, and I think a lot of people got very optimistic when Congress or the House said that they weren't going to fund it, but we had a bunch of projects already in the works that actually we were thinking of launching a little bit later in the year, which we're going to be introducing actually all of them before the show and then one just after. So we have Eastern Standard Maduro, which is called Midnight Express. That should be right around the show. We have a project called Anastasia, which I'm smoking now. It's the best cigar ever. That's really cool. That's a collaboration with Ernesto Carrillo and us. We didn't make any press releases about it. We didn't talk about it. And the reason for that, it's primarily a European market cigar, but we're going to have a small amount of retailers here in the States. With that'll come out in about 3 weeks, but I mean, like the whole state of Texas is going to have 4 or 5 stores. That's it. So it's really small brand.
I just want to make my pitch for Habana House North on Research in Austin.
Got to talk to Tom Poehler. Yeah, so we're giving each I think we're giving Tom 5 accounts in all of his territory, including Louisiana, Arkansas. So, and we don't really have a reason for that. They're a little bit more expensive cigars than we usually make. So our range is like 10 to 14. These are like 12 to 16 or something.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because I went down to meet with Ernesto Carrillo about 1.5 years ago. We started talking at a multi-vendor event in New Hampshire, and he invited me to his factory, and we're walking around, and coincidentally the first premium I ever smoked was a Carrillo a very long time ago. I'm not going to talk about how old I was, but I was FDA, so I was 18 years old when I smoked that cigar, and it really changed my life. I became a cigar smoker at a very young age because of that cigar. So we started talking at an event. He invited me down to see the factory. I'm always in DR. He walked me through his factory. It's gorgeous. I don't really smoke many cigars he makes, and so anyways, and he doesn't really smoke many cigars I make at the same time. But so we're walking through the factory, and he had some really cool tobacco he was showing me, because he has a huge stockpile of tobacco that he ages and all this shit. So there's one particular wrapper he showed me. It's like just a really amazing color, and he had bought it from a guy called Leo Reyes, who we buy our tobacco from, but he'd aged it an extra year. And Leo had bought it from Plasencia, and Plasencia had it like 6 years. So it's like 10 years or something aged.
Yeah.
Amazing wrapper. So we started kind of like fucking around with it, if I can say that on the radio. Sweet. And I think it was like almost 100 blends that we worked with, and then we stopped working with it and started working with other stuff. And then we went back to it. And actually, we got to a cigar that I fell in love with and he didn't like.
Yeah.
And then he kept smoking the samples because he thought they were burning weird. And as he continued smoking them, he's like, wow. So he calls me one day. He's like, oh, this is it. It just hadn't aged enough or something. So we have that cigar coming out. That's like, I got 3 bundles last week. That's all I've been smoking nonstop. It's my new favorite. So those are our 2 things that we have coming prior to the show. And then we have a collaboration with Drew Estate.
Hello, Kings.
August 7th.
August 7th's the big day.
We're looking to, we got the blend down. We got the artwork at probably 85% right now.
Okay.
And so we're just finishing some final touches, and then we should have that hopefully at the show.
Okay.
If not, we'll have it August 7th at 11:59 p.m. It'll be ready. I've been guaranteed.
How was that like working with Willie?
It's really interesting. So I went down to work with Willie. Willie and I met at a multi-vendor event kind of like this in North Carolina. So it seems that a lot of us meet at these things. But I really like the Herrera Esteli regular cigar.
Yeah.
I'm not a Maduro guy. Everybody likes the Maduro one, but I'm not a Maduro guy. But I love it. That's one of my go-to cigars. And so we just started talking. The guy was cool, and then that was it. And then so I started talking to Jonathan, I mean, almost 2 years ago, right after the first trade show that we had. So August 2014. And it's like, you know, yo, let's do something. I don't know what, but let's do something type conversation. And then, you know, they sold. And then we had a conversation prior and after the sale about let's do something. And then so John called me, I think, probably about October last year. And he's like, all right, let's do it. So he called me and he invited me to lunch. And he said, give me 2 names, your best 2 names for a brand. So my first name was Savages, which is fucking amazing. Jonathan didn't like Savages. So now, coincidentally, we have a Long Live the King limited edition Corona coming out called Savages.
There you go.
But so he's like, what's the other name you got? I'm like, All Out Kings. He's like, done. Gets up, leaves. Like literally left the fucking, like went to the bathroom, never came back type thing. So I got a text from him a couple, like literally the guy just Houdini'd the fuck out of the restaurant, but he did pay before he left. Yeah. So then next thing you know, he's like, I need you to go down to Nicaragua with Willie. And I'm like, all right. So I go down with Willie, and Willie and I didn't really know each other. So we sat on the plane. Literally, he's in 5B, which is my fucking seat, and I was in 5C. So we were right across the aisle from each other, but he was in my seat. So we started off, just went to lunch, shot the shit. It was really weird. It was kind of like a get to know each other type of excursion. And then obviously Logan Lawler, what's this thing called? I'm
Federation.
so bad. I'm so sorry, Logan.
Federation.
I love you. We're doing the advertising. Starts next month. I'm really bad with names. So
I think Cigar Federation.
Yes, Cigar Federation. My favorite people in the world, besides you guys. So anyways, so he was on the trip, and then guys are like, oh, what's Willie doing here? What's Caldwell doing there? Because there was also Cigar Safari, media trip.
Right.
There was guys from Cigar Magazine in Switzerland, all this shit there. And guys were just like, you know, like looking around, watching us like hawks, but nobody really figured out what happened. And they were asking me, how did you end up here? And I'm like, I was in Managua, I ran into Willie. He's like, yo, let's go. So I just came over but we were trying to get a little work done.
Yeah.
So then they have their blending seminar. So Willie and I start like fucking around with some tobacco, and he's showing me this stuff, because this stuff to me is like, I mean, I have no idea what it is. So then everybody starts taking pictures, and then Jonathan's like on the mic. It was like a very climactic thing, and he's like, oh, you guys probably noticed Caldwell's here. We're doing a cigar together. So it's really cool. So for me, it was real special, because like I talk to my mom all the time, but I don't like to talk to her about personal things. But one of my ambitions when I started Caldwell was we want to do shit real differently, and that's why we do things real differently. I think that our portfolio is outstanding. I love all of our cigars. I think we have really cool artwork, blah, 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 all that bullshit. So I'm very proud of what we do as a company. Then, so I was like, all right, let's create a really cool boutique brand that's very 2014 at the time relevant. Different designs, different concepts, different tobaccos, different marketing approach, all that shit. But the side agenda I had was collaborations, because nobody fucking collaborates.
Right.
So prior to that, I had Blind Man, which was with Davidoff. doing business as La Epe Cigars out of Honduras. Then we had the EPC thing real quiet in the works. So I have a really amazing company that's big. I have a really cool Cuban heritage Dominican manufacturer. And really the last hammer was the Drew thing, because it gave us a Nicaraguan brand with like the fucking, whatever, Axel from the cigar industry.
Yeah,
so
it's JD, man.
we were on speakerphone with like the Swisher people type deal, walking into this thing. And then we do the little announcement, I leave, and I call my mom, my lips like shivering. And I was so proud, because I was like, man, I fucking did it. And I wasn't like I did it like, okay, we're the shit, but I built something very special.
Right.
And so, like, really the feather in my hat was being able to close those deals, because we're us and we're cool, but then we're us being cool working with cooler people than us. So it's really cool. So that was real special. So anyways, whatever, we went, we did that little blending shit. And Willie and I have the same taste when it comes to size. He likes stronger cigars than I have. I had no idea about any of the tobacco that they have there whatsoever in terms of Nicaragua. We use one varietal, or two now, of Nicaraguan tobacco. That's what I knew. So Willie's like, try this. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I mean, it was, this shit tasted like potpourri, not flavored, but just, like a strong floral flavor. Hands me this other shit. I take a puff, my eyes started bleeding. So it was really crazy working with some of the tobacco. So we worked with some stuff that I knew and some stuff that Willie obviously knows, and started putting something together. And so, it was cool. I had probably a 35% participation, and I think Willie really handled about 65% of it. He obviously is much more, he knows the tobacco better, because I started, I'm like, all right, well, this is Long Live the King. So let's build Long Live the King out of all Nicaraguan components and see how it tastes. Right. Tastes like shit. So it was really interesting with me working with, and I've done that with Honduras, for instance, but so it's interesting with me working with these different tobaccos. And so we got some real special tobaccos. We're actually using the Liga Privada T52 wrapper on the cigar. It's the first time Liga Tobacco's ever used, not on Liga. We have some other shit mixed in. Some real special stuff. We're trying to utilize some of the more special Nicaraguan tobaccos, like the ASP Ligero, which is in all the Drew stuff, real powerful leaf. But for me, I couldn't smoke it, so normally they put maybe 1.5 to 2 fillers. We put 1.
Okay.
So we tweaked it so that it fits my palate. We mixed in some components that I liked, mixed in some components that Willie liked. So now it's really interesting, because we have a cigar that I won't smoke every day, but I probably smoke once a week. The couple guys that have tried it fell in love right away. It tastes like theirs, but it has maybe the character of mine. Yeah. So it really is a mashup between manufacturers, which is really cool.
To me, that's what gets me excited, is the whole collaboration effort. Because, like you said, you haven't really seen that until here recently.
Yeah. I was going to ask, why don't we see more collaborations?
I think people are real secretive, honestly. And when you see collaborations, it's like, Johnny T-shirt versus, Leafy Bean or whatever. Like smaller, I'm not trying to knock anything, but smaller companies, the bigger companies don't want to collaborate. And I understand why, because they're not going to collaborate with each other. And then there's not maybe somebody for them to collaborate with. So, but I don't know, because we started, we were looking actually early on doing it with just friends of ours in the industry, smaller manufacturers. And then we were like, no, let's kind of wait and see what we can do. So
it seems like almost an ego thing, like you got to kind of lose your ego and really get on the same playing field, no matter who's,
I think of it like two chefs going at it. I'm like, I love both of you. Let's mix it up.
And for instance, the depending on which deal we did, they each worked a different way. The Blind Man deal, that was like they did that cigar. I mean, we had our input. We said these are the components. I went to Honduras one time. They worked hand in hand with me on that. We used all their tobaccos. I had no input. They said we can use these 25 or 30 tobaccos. Let's build something. So it's depending on kind of what is what. But I think maybe bigger manufacturers are very, no, this is the way it has to be if I'm going to put my name on it. And with us, like for instance, Carrillo, he likes really different shit than I like.
Yeah.
And he was very insistent that we have certain components to the cigar. So I think that if you put somebody like that up with somebody else that was very opinionated, there's a little less negotiation when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we're in a special position to have been able to do something like that, and I think it's really cool because it adds elements to our portfolio that we just don't have. Like Blind Man, we couldn't do that on our own.
Yeah.
The thing that we're doing with Carrillo, we can't do that on our own. The Drew thing, like, we had 20 Nicaraguan manufacturers contact us to do a cigar. And I had the Drew thing in the works for like almost 2 years. Or at least the conversation had been had.
Right.
So I was like, nah, I don't want to make a Nicaraguan cigar. But if I was going to do it, I was going to do it the way that we did it. And we would hold out until it happened. But I think a lot of bigger manufacturers, it's hard to do it. A lot of smaller guys, it's complicated. You got to be kind of a medium-sized company probably to make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, as you guys probably know, we do distribution of all of these things. You have to have that channel to get it out there. They're not going to want it to be, if we were selling it in 18 stores, might not work.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Right place, right time.
Well, I can't wait. I didn't realize you guys were using the T52. Can't wait. We're going to be, I think Sam said we're going to be featuring that on the show pretty soon when it comes out.
Good.
Let me ask you, just real quick, to go back to the Lost and Found line. Are you more and more are factories getting in touch with you? Hey, we've got this, or is that something that you just kind of stumble across? How does that work?
I started in the industry with a hospitality distribution company selling cigars to restaurants and hotels, and then from there I started making cigars for them, like private labels, but I was very hands-on. Like, I would do the packaging, I'd go to the factory, that type of shit. So I was like a helper, not a competitor of a lot of companies. So we worked closely with several companies, and that's where a lot of these relationships came from. And then so I'd be in the factory and I'd be like, man, this was my favorite cigar you ever made. They're like, let me go to the back and get you some. And I'd be like, all right, and I'd take them. So it kind of just fell in my lap. And then at one point I had Tony Bellato, who's the partner on that. I brought some back. I brought him up to his store, and he's like, how are you getting this shit? And I told him what it is. We don't disclose what it is. He's like, how the hell do you get these cigars? I'm like, well, I'm friends with them, and I was in their factory or whatever, and they hooked me up. And he's like, can you get more? So I'm like, I don't know. So I called a couple of these guys, and I'm like, and they're like, look, we'll just send you inventory lists of what we have, because a lot of these factories have dead stock. And by dead stock, I mean they do a limited edition. They do 12,000 cigars. They only sell 10. They have 2,000 laying around, or they change the blend, or they change something, or they kill the size. So we started working on that, and we've had several factories reach out to us about it. But then we've had some kind of close their doors to us because of Caldwell, because Lost and Found came out prior to Caldwell. So, but it's cool, man. I mean, like, we don't disclose what they are. Some people have figured out what some of them are, and some of that was very fucking deliberate so that they would stop saying, oh, they're buying factory seconds or test blends and bullshit. Yeah. They're all super fucking premium cigars. I mean, and we had one come out for $4.50. I don't know if you guys saw that. The Silent Shout. It's $4.50. Because the cigar cost very little. If they cost more, they cost more. Right. But the point of doing something deliberate was to say, yeah, this is a $16 cigar. Yes, you're buying it for 10. Yes, it's 10 years old, and you know this. Yeah. So that was kind of the purpose of that one. Some guys didn't like it because it's not a cool boutique brand, but they're fucking 10-year-old amazing cigars. So, So I mean, we've had some level of participation and some pushback with it, but the providers that we're getting stuff from, you're talking about millions of cigars that they have. So we could never use it all, we could never use what they have. Yeah. So it's just sifting through and trying to get to what we think is, the best stuff.
I think it's a really unique, cool thing, and I've kind of been on board with it. I just
thank you. It's
really
special, and it's funny because guys sometimes, I'll see a post, and they'll say, "Oh, this cigar, I give it a 42 rating," and then they'll rate the real cigar
when it actually
like a fucking 97, and I'm like, "You piece of shit! You gave it a 97, but now you give it a 42." And the funniest is one of the companies that come out with the cigars repackaged with a 2007 through 13 sampler pack of well-aged product that was using the same exact fucking cigars we used 6 months before us. And one of these reviewers gave a cigar in particular like a high 90s, and he gave ours like an 81 with a do not buy rating. And it was a 6-month difference in time between which he smoked them. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
The difference is the one he smoked had a label on it, and he paid $18 for it.
Yeah.
And ours was 10 with no label.
Hey, that stuff matters to people.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
I'm glad we don't rate cigars.
Yeah. It's amazing how shitty Caldwell tastes without a label on it.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
When we went out selling, we didn't have labels. And as soon as we put labels, guys are like, you changed the blend. This is amazing. I'm like, you're just a fucking piece of shit. And you like how that looks. You know what I mean? So it's real. I actually had that experience yesterday with a rep of mine that's here today. His name's Tom Pollard. He hated a cigar I gave him a month ago with no band. And he fell in love with it yesterday. And I didn't tell him it was the same thing. So.
I'll wait till he sees the show.
Yeah. Tom has a great palate.
Well, we've got 2 or 3 big things to look out for. Go to, what's the best website? Caldwell Cigars?
Uporn.com.
Well, that's a given.
It's already bookmarked.
That was nice. Doesn't work in Arab countries, though. I couldn't find it in Turkey. They blocked that shit. RedTube works in Turkey.
Yeah.
So.
This world coming to.
What about Pornhub?
What? That doesn't work in Turkey either.
No.
And if you go to China, you can't get any of that shit. None of it.
Not
It's a
going
real
to China.
lonely trip.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
Real lonely trip.
Stay put. Stay put in Texas. We'll take care of. Check out Robert. He's big on Instagram. Guy's always traveling. Beautiful artwork. All sorts of stuff. I love following a lot of the cigar guys just from the factory floor to out with their merchandise. It's really cool to see out there, especially the newer companies kind of following you guys from when you first start out. I mean, it's just get out there, Instagram, Facebook, and we'll talk in the future.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Hey, appreciate it, brother.
My pleasure.